Ever get that feeling like you want to really get deep into something, like a topic that's got a lot of layers, you know? You want to understand it inside and out, but without drowning in a sea of info.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we all crave that, right?
Yeah.
Like wanting that aha moment where things just click.
Exactly. And that's what we're all about here, right? We take these fascinating topics, kind of like these dense books or articles, and we try to pull out the good stuff, the insights that make you go, whoa, I never thought of it that way. And today we're going to tackle something that really flips the script on how we see the world.
Ooh, sounds juicy. What is it?
Well, we're diving headfirst into cross-cultural misunderstandings, like those moments when you bump heads with someone from a totally different background, and you realize that your normal is their what? And to really illustrate this, we're going to zero in on something super basic.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's this basic thing we're clashing over?
You ready for this? We're talking about clean and dirty. Like what one culture sees as spotless, another might see as totally gross.
Whoa. Yeah, I can see how that could get messy fast.
No kidding. And to help us navigate this cultural minefield, we're going to lean on the work of Paul G. Hibert.
Oh, he's brilliant. Anthropologist, right? Spent years as a missionary in India, really dove deep into cultural differences.
You got it. And his insights are gold, seriously. He helps us see how something as fundamental as cleanliness can have wildly different meanings depending on where you are in the world.
That makes total sense. I mean, what's considered polite in one country could be a major faux pas in another.
100%. So in this deep dive, our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to really unpack these clashing views on cleanliness, especially between American culture, like what Hibert focuses on, and Indian culture. But we're not just going to point out the differences. Nah, we want to dig deeper. We want to figure out the why. Like, what are the beliefs and values that drive these totally different perspectives?
I'm in. Let's crack this cultural code.
All right, so buckle up, because Hibert throws us right into the deep end with his description of landing in India for the first time. Imagine this. You step off the plane, and you're instantly bombarded by this sensory overload. People everywhere, a kaleidoscope of colors, a symphony of sounds.
Yeah, India's definitely got that vibrant, bustling energy, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, it's a full-on assault on the senses. But then, Hibert says, there's this other layer that hits you, this initial encounter with what looks like, to Western eyes, widespread filth.
Okay, I'm listening. What kind of filth are we talking about here?
Think rotting garbage piled up in the streets, plastic bags clinging to every bush, open sewers, even, human and animal waste out in the open. Stuff that most Westerners wouldn't even dream of encountering in their daily lives.
Yeah, it's definitely going to make an impression, especially if you're not used to it. Like, talk about a culture shock, right?
A total culture shock. And Hibert nails it when he calls it this chaos shock. It's like this feeling that everything's out of control, chaotic, and undeniably dirty. It challenges your whole definition of what clean even means.
Right, because cleanliness isn't just about the absence of dirt, is it? It's also about order, control, things being in their right place.
You hit the nail on the head. It's about this sense of order that we often associate with cleanliness. And speaking of order, or the lack thereof, Hibert also points to the traffic as a major contributor to this feeling of chaos.
Ah, yes, the legendary Indian traffic. That's a whole other deep dive we could do, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, imagine this. Cars, motorcycles, rickshaws, animals, pedestrians, all weaving in and out, seemingly without any rules.
Yeah, it sounds like organized chaos to me. But I guess that's part of the charm too, right?
It definitely adds to the sensory overload. But for many Westerners, it reinforces that feeling of things being messy, dirty, and out of control.
Makes sense. It's like everything we associate with cleanliness is being turned upside down. So what about the flip side of this? What are Indians thinking when they land in America?
That's where it gets really interesting, because they often experience a completely opposite set of initial impressions. Like, picture this. An Indian person arrives in America, and they're blown away by the level of public cleanliness.
Okay, paint me a picture. What are they seeing?
Think perfectly manicured lawns, like these green carpets stretching out in front of houses, buildings with fresh paint, no peeling or graffiti, streets that look spotless, not a speck of litter. And you know what really throws them?
What's that?
The fact that the sewage system is completely hidden underground. Like, it's this marvel of engineering they've never seen before.
I never even thought about that. We just take it for granted, right? Like, of course the sewage is underground. Where else would it be?
Exactly. And then there are the cars. Shiny, no dents or scratches, moving in these neat lanes, stopping at traffic lights. It's this vision of public order that's totally foreign to them.
Wow, yeah, I can see how that would be a shock coming from the controlled chaos of India.
Totally. But here's the kicker. While Indians are admiring this public cleanliness, they're often simultaneously struck by what they perceive as Americans' lack of personal cleanliness.
Okay, now I'm really curious. What are they noticing about Americans that seems unclean?
Think about it from their perspective. They see people wearing old, faded jeans, maybe ripped or stained, those super short shorts that are popular in the summer, t-shirts with slogans and ads all over them, and sneakers that look like they've seen better days. It's not that Americans are necessarily physically dirty, but their clothes and appearance just don't align with the Indian concept of cleanliness and respectability.
Interesting. So it's like they're seeing this disconnect, right? Public spaces are spotless, but people's personal presentation is a bit more relaxed, maybe even bordering on what they consider sloppy.
Exactly. And to them, it's baffling. Hybert even mentions how they see this casual attire and think, these people look like beggars. Like, why aren't they taking more pride in their appearance?
It's wild how these perceptions can be so different, right? What we find comfortable and normal can be completely jarring to someone from another culture.
It really makes you question your own standards, and it doesn't stop at clothes. Hybert also describes how Indian observers are puzzled by certain American behaviors, like women wearing plain clothes that look similar to men's clothing, and keeping their shoes on inside their homes, and even, get this, in churches.
Wow, yeah, that would be a big no-no in many cultures, right?
Yeah.
Like, shoes are for the outside world, not for the sanctity of your home or a place of worship.
Absolutely. And all these observations lead to a really thought-provoking question that Indians often raise, as Hybert points out. They wonder, why do Americans seem to prioritize the cleanliness of their public spaces, their streets and gardens and cars, yet appear to neglect their personal presentation, especially when they clearly have the means to afford nicer clothes?
It's like a mirror image, right? What one culture polishes in public, the other meticulously cleanses in private. Really makes you think about what we value and why.
No kidding. It challenges our whole notion of what it means to be clean. And to make things even more complex, there are all these everyday practices that many Westerners take for granted that are seen as totally unclean by many in India.
Oh yeah, like what? Give me some examples.
Well, consider something as simple as eating with forks and spoons that have been in other people's mouths. To many Indians, that's super unhygienic. Like, why would you put something in your mouth that's already touched someone else's saliva?
Makes sense when you put it that way. We just kind of accept it as normal, but it does seem kind of gross when you think about it.
Right. And then there's the idea of not washing your hands before eating with your fingers. In Indian culture, washing your hands before touching food, especially if you're eating with your hands, is super important. It's a sign of respect for the food and for the people you're sharing it with.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a cultural clash. Like, Westerners are often told not to double dip, but we don't necessarily think twice about eating with utensils that have been in other people's mouths.
It highlights this fundamental difference in thinking about cleanliness. And then there's the whole bathroom situation. Like in some parts of India, it's customary to use water and your left hand for cleaning yourself after using the toilet, while the right hand is reserved for eating.
Well, that's a hard pass for me. I mean, no judgment, but I can't imagine switching hands like that.
I hear ya. It definitely takes some getting used to, especially for Westerners who are taught that using toilet paper is the only hygienic way to go.
Makes you realize how deeply ingrained these habits are, right? Like things we don't even think about, things that seem totally natural to us, can be totally shocking to someone from another culture.
Totally. And we haven't even talked about food yet. Hybert reminds us that consuming meat, especially beef, is considered deeply defiling by many Hindus in India. It's not just a dietary preference, it's a deeply held religious belief.
Right, cows are sacred in Hinduism. So eating beef would be like a huge taboo, not to mention disrespectful to their beliefs.
Exactly. And it's not just about the food itself, it's also about how you handle it. Like, even something as seemingly innocent as shaking hands can be perceived as a form of ritual contamination in some Indian contexts.
That's so interesting. We see shaking hands as a friendly gesture, a sign of respect even, but in some cultures it's seen as potentially spreading impurity.
It goes to show how much context matters, right?
Yeah.
What's polite in one culture can be offensive in another, and this all leads us to the central paradox that Hebert explores.
Okay, lay it on me. What's this paradox?
So despite this Western perception of public filth in India with the garbage and the open sewers and all that, Hybert emphasizes that Indian culture actually places a huge emphasis on purity and pollution. It's just that their concept of purity goes way beyond just surface level dirt.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So, if it's not just about what's visibly clean, what else were they factoring in?
Well, what's really fascinating is that alongside this visible public mess, there's this intense focus on individual cleanliness.
Okay, so give me some examples. How does this personal cleanliness manifest?
Ibert paints these vivid pictures. Like, imagine men emerging from modest homes dressed in immaculately clean, pressed clothing, their shoes polished to a shine. Women adorned in vibrant, colorful saris, spotless and wrinkle-free. You'll often find public hand-washing stations outside restaurants where people meticulously scrub their hands before and after eating. Homes are swept clean every single day, even if the streets outside are dusty or littered. And even practices that might seem strange or even unclean to a Westerner, like applying fresh cow manure to entryways, are actually done with the intention of purifying the space and warding off insects.
That's so interesting. It's like they're creating this bubble of cleanliness within their personal space, even if the public space around them isn't as tidy.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just the physical act of cleaning. It's about this public display of personal hygiene as a way to demonstrate one's commitment to cleanliness and respectability. Hybert describes people casually brushing their teeth and combing their hair in public, almost like a ritualistic act of purification.
Wow, I never thought of it that way. It's like they're saying, look, I may live in a place where public sanitation isn't perfect, but I'm still a clean and respectable person.
That's a great way to put it. And this all ties back to this idea that the Indian understanding of purity and pollution goes way deeper than just surface level dirt. It's about this concept of deep inner pollution, a kind of defilement that affects one's very being, their soul almost.
Okay, so we're talking about ritual purity here,
Right.
not just physical cleanliness, but a state of being that can be affected by certain actions or contact with certain things.
You got it. And this is where the cultural framework really shifts for many Westerners. Hybrid explains how certain types of manual labor, like scavenging, tanning animal hides, burying the dead, or even cutting hair, are considered highly polluting because they involve direct contact with what are seen as dead objects.
So it's not that these jobs are inherently dirty in the physical sense, but they're seen as spiritually polluting because they involve dealing with death and decay.
Precisely. And it's not just limited to those professions. Even activities that we might consider part of maintaining cleanliness, like washing clothes, cleaning the house, or sweeping, are seen as potentially polluting because they involve handling refuse, things that are considered impure.
That's wild. It's like their definition of clean is so intertwined with their spiritual beliefs
Yeah.
and their social structure.
Exactly. And this defilement, as Hybert emphasizes, is often linked to the caste system. It's seen as an inherited status passed down through generations. So someone born into a caste that traditionally performs these polluting jobs is considered inherently polluted regardless of their personal hygiene.
Wow. So it's not just about getting physically dirty. It's about your place in society and your perceived spiritual purity. That's heavy.
It is. And within this belief system, the only way to potentially escape this perceived pollution in this life is through adherence to one's caste duties, with the hope of being reborn into a higher caste in the next life.
So it's like this cycle of purity and pollution that's tied to your birth and your destiny.
Exactly. And this concept of pollution extends to social interactions as well. Like, imagine this. A person of higher caste accidentally touches someone of lower caste.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Traditionally, that's seen as a big deal. The person of higher caste is now considered polluted and needs to perform specific cleansing rituals to purify themselves.
So it's not about malice or disgust. It's about maintaining this ritual purity within their social and spiritual hierarchy.
Exactly. And this helps explain why non-touching forms of greeting, like bowing or saying namaste, developed in India. It's a way to show respect and avoid any accidental ritual contamination.
That makes so much sense. It's like a cultural adaptation to these deeply held beliefs about purity.
And it also highlights the deeply defiling nature of relationships between people of different castes, especially for any children born from such unions. It's seen as disrupting this whole social and spiritual order.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack.
Right.
It really makes you realize how much we take our own definitions of clean and dirty for granted.
No kidding. What seems like common sense to us, like washing our hands before eating or throwing our garbage in the trash, is actually shaped by centuries of cultural and religious beliefs.
It's like we're seeing the world through a totally different lens now, right? What one culture might view as messy and polluted, another might see as a way of life, even as a form of spiritual purity.
It's a total mind shift. And Hybert directly addresses this, urging Westerners to try to see things from the Indian perspective. He reminds us that India is often characterized by this mix of personal cleanliness and public mess, while America, from an Indian standpoint, is often seen as having public cleanliness but personal mess. It's a complete reversal of our usual assumptions.
It's like we're holding up mirrors to each other.
Yeah.
And what we see reflected back is not always what we expect.
It's a powerful image. And understanding these differences isn't just about avoiding awkward situations. It's about showing respect and building genuine connections across cultures. And to that end, Hybert provides some really practical advice for Westerners visiting India to help them navigate these cultural differences and avoid any unintentional faux pas.
Okay, give me the inside scoop. What are some things Westerners can do to be respectful and avoid coming across as unclean?
Well, starting with attire, Hybert advises men to ditch the casual jeans, old t-shirts, and flashy sneakers. For women, he suggests avoiding shorts and short skirts in public. It's about dressing more formally, more modestly, as a sign of respect for your hosts and their cultural norms.
That makes sense. It's like we might be used to dressing for comfort, but in many cultures, dressing up is a way to show respect and honor the people you're with.
Exactly. And Hybert has this great point about dressing up versus dressing down. Like, when we dress for ourselves, we often prioritize comfort and dress down. But when we dress to honor others, we make an effort to dress up. So if you want to show respect for your Indian hosts, it means making a conscious effort to dress more formally when you're out and about, especially when you're attending religious services.
That's a great insight. It's not about conforming or losing your own sense of style. It's about showing that you care enough to make an effort to fit in and respect their customs.
Exactly, and it's not just about clothes. Hybert also recommends making a visible effort to wash your hands at a sink before eating in a restaurant, and even brushing your teeth in public after a meal. And crucially, he emphasizes the importance of not touching your food with your left hand, as it's traditionally considered unclean.
Got it. Right hand for eating, left hand for other things. Seems simple enough, but it's easy to forget when you're not used to it.
It is. And here's another one that might not occur to Westerners: the way you present your hair. Hybert suggests keeping your hair neat and trimmed, as unkempt hair can sometimes be perceived as a sign of poor personal hygiene.
Okay, noted. Got to keep those split ends in check. It's funny how something as simple as hair can have such different cultural connotations.
It is. And then there's the food. Hybert recommends being mindful of your consumption of meat, particularly beef in public settings, given its religious significance for many Hindus.
Right, got to be respectful of those dietary customs.
Right.
You don't want to accidentally offend anyone or create an awkward situation.
Exactly. But perhaps the most valuable piece of advice, the one that underpins all these specific tips, is to simply learn from your hosts. Hybert acknowledges that initially, they might be hesitant to directly correct you if you're doing something that's culturally inappropriate. But as you build trust and show a genuine willingness to learn, they can be incredible guides to help you navigate these cultural nuances.
That's such good advice. It's about being humble, asking questions, and being open to learning from the people who know their culture best.
Totally. It's about approaching these cultural differences with curiosity and respect rather than judgment or a sense of superiority.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's clear that we've uncovered some really fascinating and challenging ideas. We've seen how the Western emphasis, particularly in America, often centers on public order and hygiene in shared spaces. In contrast, the Indian emphasis, as Hybert highlights, places a profound importance on personal and ritual purity, deeply intertwined with social structures and religious beliefs.
And the big takeaway here is that what one culture considers clean and what it considers dirty is far from universal. It's shaped by this whole tapestry of history, values, and deeply held beliefs. What might seem like common sense in one context can be completely misunderstood in another.
It's a powerful reminder that we don't all see the world the same way, and that our own cultural norms, the things we often take for granted, can seem strange or even offensive to someone from a different background.
It's a call to step outside our own cultural bubbles and try to see things from another perspective. And I think the most mind-blowing part of this whole exploration is that it all stems from something as seemingly simple as cleanliness.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If something as basic as cleanliness can be so culturally loaded, what other hidden assumptions and biases might we be carrying around without even realizing it?
And how might those hidden assumptions be shaping our interactions with people from different cultures, even in subtle ways? It's something to really ponder, especially in today's increasingly interconnected world.
Definitely food for thought.
Yeah.
It's a reminder to always be curious, to always be learning, and to never assume that our way is the only way.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder those big questions. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.